Hello and welcome back to The Good People. Let's jump right back in and continue our journey. The Master of Secrets. The ride to Tamer is quiet. Shay keeps glancing awkwardly at me, like they want to ask me more questions, but change their mind every time. I guess I'm not sure what to say either. All I can think about is how I can prove who I am. If only I had anything from my saddlebag. As we approach the city, we ride through the farmlands on the outskirts. The fields are all flourishing and ready to harvest, even though it feels like a beautiful spring day. Shay's garden makes a lot more sense now. Since Valias is in eternal spring, the season wouldn't really matter as much as the weather. We finally make it to the city gates, an imposing wall at the base of an enormous hill. Perched on top of the hill is the palace, where I can only assume I'm being taken. My panic begins to rise as we get closer. If I don't find a way out of this, I may never get home. And who knows what else this Daoine person I'm supposed to be has done. If Shay's this angry, imagine what the Queen might be thinking. At least if I run, I might have a better chance of getting home. Shay takes this very moment to pull me closer to them. Now, we're gonna head straight to the palace, no stalling. Stay close, a lot of people have missed having you around to tend to them, and I don't want you getting dragged off. If we stop for everyone who needs it, we'll never get there. And whatever you do, don't bring up that talk about Inisfell. Don't think the Queen would take too kindly to hearing the court druid was trying to flee the country. What was that again? Isle of Destiny, right. Ireland. The court what now? That sounds important. Shay doesn't say anything more on it though, and leads their horse over to the stables before we enter the city. Kara's not a fan of the city. Too crowded. I nod sympathetically, not being much of a fan myself. Poor horse. Darby isn't nervous around people. The old girl doesn't seem to even pay attention most of the time.
Alright there, Shay. Been a while since you've been up.
Just escorting the druid back, then I'm back to the post. It takes all my willpower not to snort at the idea of being escorted like this. Inside the walls, the city is bustling with activity. The people here, like Shay, are all mostly human-looking, save for the pointed ears and strange, otherworldly hair colors. A giant canal runs along the main thoroughfare, and the stores and homes are all inside gorgeous marble buildings. The blooming flowers that litter every corner and crevice fill the air with their pleasant aromas. Wow, I don't know what I expected, but it was nothing like this. I crane my head as we walk to see as much as possible. Down the alleyways, I get glimpses of shabby row houses and dimly lit stores. Shay and I walk side by side, and they have a firm grip on my bindings. At first, I'm annoyed by the short leash, until an elderly woman suddenly grabs my arm, her bony grip locked around it.
Daoine, dear, I was so worried when I heard. I thought to myself, now who's gonna make wee Kyrian's medicine?
I feel a bit bewildered getting picked out from the crowd. Seems Shay isn't the only one who thinks I'm Diana. As I prepare to respond, Shay quickly cuts me off. Not just now, Mr. Payo? I promised to get Diana back to you, but first we have to get up to the Queen.
Of course. You come around too sometime, Shay.
She leaves without a fuss, and it isn't until she is out of our sight that we continue on. I feel my stomach churn as we walk. While no one else approaches Shay and I feel an abundance of eyes on me. Just how well known is this Diana person? Are they some kind of doctor? I mean, we heard druid, but I don't know if you know the meaning of that. Even I don't really know the full meaning of that, to be honest. I don't like this. How am I gonna get out of here if the whole damn city knows my face? Yeah. We come up to a busy crossroads, filled with all sorts of food and bauble vendors. Amid the carts passing by, the large crowds of shopping people and the abundance of alleyways, this could be the perfect moment for my escape. Nah, we're gonna wait. These timed decisions feel so strange to have in a visual novel. Like, you know them from other types of like adventure games with quick time events. They make sense again, like in the situation it is. Like you don't have forever to decide what you're gonna do. But yeah, just different, kind of cool. And you can turn it off, I believe, in the settings. I only get one chance, I've got to make it count. I don't know if I want to run because, yeah, one thing is too many people apparently know my face, so chances of getting caught again is too high, or getting roped into whatever that I'm not equipped to do. And even if not, if I'm on my own, what am I gonna do? Like, it's a good thing then that someone's taken us in, I think, until we get this all figured out. So I don't think I'm going to run, but let's see. We continue down the main thoroughfare, where I peek into shop windows and open doors to see the assortment of foods, trinkets and fabrics offered. One weaver in particular is showing off what looks like silk fabric that shifts from silver to a rich purple color in the light. A small crowd of admirers claps and gasps on cue. A bauble vendor is calling out to pedestrians to lure them over to her shop. Some of her trinkets are shaped like creatures I've never seen before. A couple remind me of the one I saw Shay talk to. Some of them sparkle with what looks like real gems. I guess I wouldn't be able to tell if they were fake, but I get the feeling I'm not wrong. Any of these could probably sell for 10 times what I had in my saddlebag. The well-to-do looking customers don't seem too impressed though. Everything here is so fancy. I bet it wouldn't be so bad living in the city. I speak without thinking, temporarily forgetting I'm supposed to know what here is like. I mean, it's not that we're pretending towards Shay. Shay gives me a confused look that I'm quickly growing familiar with. The look that says Diana wouldn't think the same. I guess if you don't look too hard. I mean, you know how it is, They stop mid-sentence as though remembering my story. Maybe they're finally starting to believe me. But whatever they're thinking, they quickly shake the thought out of their head.
Anyway, you know how it is. Put the nice stuff up front so no one sees what's happening in the back.
Guess you know this lot don't care much anyway. Yeah, so it's like that everywhere, isn't it? Could be worse, I guess. Most people are doing alright, now that the Queen lets you come down here and help. People like that. I wonder what Daoine does for the city. If the queen is letting her important druid come down to help, it must be pretty necessary. Even so, fairy problems are the least of my concerns. Right now, I'm just trying to deal with my human problems. Speaking of which, we're approaching a busy intersection soon. This might be the chance I need. Yeah, but then do what? We don't have a plan. This is stupid. We step into the street just in time for a carriage to come barreling towards us. I plant my feet into the dirt and defiantly refuse to budge, forcing Shay to either let go of the rope or be run over. I feel them release the rope with seconds to spare. We both stumble backwards as the carriage driver shouts obscenities at us. The traffic continues to flow, pushing Shay and I further apart. Oi, you stay right there. I can barely see them in the crowd now, and I use the opening to flee into the first alley I see. Sorry, Shay, but I can't afford to get dragged into more fairy business. I'm in way over my head as it is. Yeah, and what now? I didn't choose this. I want to make this clear. As I run, tall market buildings begin to obscure the light in the alley, shrouding it in darkness. Hidden in the shadows, I eventually stop and lean against the cool stone walls and fiddle with the rope bindings. Or even worse, still bound. Great. It's no use. The knot is secure and the rope is tight against my wrists. I skulk further down the alley in search of anything sharp. The alley gives way to another area of town, where shabby storefronts have beggars and street food carts instead of the boisterous vendors I just left. I really don't need to be walking around like this. Clinging to the shadows, I search the ground for anything of use. A piece of broken glass catches my eye. Rushing back into the alleys, I try to saw at the rope with a glass shard. If only I had a little more light. Looking around, I spot a street light next to a rowdy bar. It's a little weird to see a lit lamp mid-morning, but I'm thankful nonetheless. Shielding myself from the bar window, I continue working the rope. The light I'm using flickers, and it goes out. I glance up at it and gasp. It's not a light at all, but a strange glowing moth that flutters above me once more, before flying away. I shout uselessly behind it as my frustration builds. Go on then, fat load of help you are. Edging closer to the bar, I go as much into the sunlight as I dare and finish cutting the rope. As I'm soothing my aching wrists, the glowing moth returns. A little too late, aren't you? Is it gonna transform? I'm talking to magical fairy moths now.
Well, well. Imagine that, the Sealy Court druid, missing for weeks, found loitering near a bar that serves known criminals. What will people say?
Brandishing the glass shard, I turn to face the speaker. A tall, slender man is behind me, his face half obscured by shadow. The moth flutters near him, even though he pays it no attention. The first thing I notice is that he has like the same shaped brooch as Shay. What does it mean? Okay, what does that say about you then? I think you have the wrong idea. Let's be a bit sassy. I snap back at him, my voice stronger than I expected. The man steps into the light. He leans toward me until we are face to face. Begorra, he is the prettiest person I've ever seen. His golden eyes hone in on me, and he gives me a Vulpine smile. Why, it says I'm doing my job, of course. And what job is that? My voice is beginning to waver under his cold gaze. Finding you. Now come, let your dear friend Keegan take you back where you belong. Keegan Maithe. The given name means ardent. The title means master of secrets. Oh, it's him. His smile is even more unsettling. Is everyone in the other world after this Diana? I dejectedly walk alongside him as we venture through the alleys. That really... yeah. Was it worth it, running away from Shay? I don't know. It's very convenient that I ran into you here. I was just meeting with an associate regarding your whereabouts. He was quite useless, evidently. Your associate? One of them, yes. I would be a poor master of secrets without a variety of contacts. Okay, that's just the same. Master of secrets. Is that some kind of fancy word for spy? I guess that makes sense. It would explain why he was in a place like this. I should probably be extra careful around him. Just my luck I'd run into him while everyone thinks I'm some important druid person. Maybe I can play the part long enough to get out of here. I don't know, mate. I think being honest is the best policy. We'll see. We know too little. I think that's the main issue here. We know way too little of whether it's a good thing or not to pretend to be who they think we are. Rather than heading directly for the palace, Keegan instead leads me into a fancy-looking boutique. I've never been in such a shop before, but Keegan glides through it with clear familiarity. The two shopkeepers whisper frantically between themselves when they catch sight of us. As Keegan approaches the counter, the whispers turn into delighted grins and greetings. Oh, Master Keegan, back so soon? Or is this a visit of pleasure? My lady, as much as I value my time here, this visit is not for me. Keegan attentively takes her hand and briefly kisses her knuckles. The young woman flushes pink before shooting me a look of contempt. Yes, about my guest here. I'm bringing our flighty druid friend back to the palace, but... All three of them stare at me, and I nervously rub my dirty hands on my clothes. I've never really put much thought into my looks, aside from the times I've needed to mend a thing or two. Standing in front of their judgmental eyes, though, my meager clothing seems more shabby than before. You can see the problem. I simply cannot present the druid in this state. The queen would be devastated. Master Keegan, how considerate. The queen is truly blessed to have such a man in her court. No, good sir. The pleasure is mine. Oh, okay. I can't tell if Keegan is being sincere or not, but the couple behind the counter doesn't seem to care either way. They rush to bring me an assortment of outfits, all while fawning over him. Suppose he's pretty popular. Yeah, he seems like the type who just makes pretty eyes and pretty words at everyone. The couple never speak to me directly. Instead, they talk to Keegan about me. I do notice that they seem to keep shooting nervous glances at the glowing moth that curiously bobs near him at all times. They don't seem to like your moth very much. I'm not sure what possesses me to speak up. Likely the fact the shopkeepers keep ignoring me. The female shopkeeper shoots me an ugly look before returning to her fabrics. If Keegan sees it, he says nothing. The AC usually aren't allowed inside. This couple is kind enough to make an exception for my will-o'-wisp. People of the Mounds, more commonly known as the fairies. Wait, aren't we all fairies here? What's the difference? I stare dumbfounded at the fluttering moth. I grew up hearing stories about the wisps, but to see one this close, it's different than I imagined. Cuter, I suppose? For a moment, though, I pause. Thank you. Wait, but aren't you all AC? What's the difference? Thank you. Tell it to the dumb people here. As soon as I say that, the couple both stare at me, horrified. Keegan actually looks caught off guard. You've returned much more vulgar than before. Intriguing, but unbecoming. What if I asked the difference between you and a horse? That amounts to the same thing. As you well know, they were already here when we, the 2 other day, were driven into Tir na nog. It's a foul human conflation to assume we are the same. Yeah, well, I am just a stupid human, so... yeah. Huh, so they're not fairies then? Or at least a different sort. Enough so that the conflation would cause offense. My first time in a fancy shop, I insult the owners. I'm not sure if Keegan cares more about what I say, but I get the feeling the wisp means more to him than he lets on, else he wouldn't keep it so close. Interesting. I would have first thought that it's more like... like a bug, a drone, I don't have the words right now, but just something that reports to him, obviously, like it led him to me. What do you think, Master Keegan? The pink brocade suit or the green jacquard dress? Keegan seriously considers each option before grabbing them both and walking over to me. He holds out both outfits for me to consider. Let's let the wearer choose, shall we? The fabrics are high-quality silks. I'll never earn enough in my lifetime to pay for these. I have to find a way out of this before I end up deeper in trouble. Never fear, Mokara. My friend. This is simply a business expense. Of course, I will foot the bill. Well, I expected as much. That's exactly what I'm worried about. Right. The words come out before I can stop myself. Yeah, we don't want to be indebted to anyone here, right? You seem to have also gained some sass on your unexpected vacation. You simply must tell me what you got up to. After we meet with the Queen, of course. For now, let's make you presentable. I flush at the reminder of my position and grab one of the outfits. I was about to say, can we choose? Pink brocade suit, the green jacquard dress, or a simple tunic? Oh, interesting. I'm leaning more towards the dress, but the tunic, like... What does it mean? Sometimes it's really a thing of you can go with your gut with this decision, because this seems like a simple decision, like something shallow, right? But if we choose a tunic, does it show like we're being humble? We're not trying to play the part of the druid and really say, no, it's fine, like it's not even me, I don't need a fancy dress because I'm not this fancy person. Is that it? Or is it just... Or am I overthinking? Who knows? But I think if given the choice, I think I'm going to go with the simple one. Let's see if he even lets me choose this. These options aren't really me. Yeah, that's also a thing. Like if you're not comfortable in the clothes that someone else chooses for you, like that's a big issue. I look around the boutique until I see a simple linen tunic with trousers. Despite its simplicity, the fabric is extraordinary and the stitching is almost invisible. Not invincible. I'll just take this, please. You have the finest designs in Tirnanok offered to you, and you choose this. Fascinating. I rush into the fitting room before he can say any more about it. After a quick change, I hurry over to a large mirror to take a look. How do you feel? They are masters of their craft, no? I agree, they are. The clothes fit me as though they had been made for me and not hastily grabbed from a pile. I run my fingers along the fine stitching and feel how impossibly light the fabric is. I can see why Keegan frequents this shop so often. As we approach the counter, the tailors are both watching me in triumph. They may be snooty, but they obviously take a lot of pride in their work. I must say, you did not disappoint me. Once again, I am in your debt. Oh, you flatter us, Master Keegan. Your patronage is thanks enough. Of course, we also enjoy your more casual visits. As do I. For now, I fear I must return to the palace. I'll send payment along with what I owe from my personal order. Keegan continues to discuss the details in between their saccharine compliments. By the time we leave, they have invited him for tea no less than 3 times. Okay. Meanwhile, I still can't stop thinking about what it means that I accepted these clothes. Keegan says I won't have to pay, but the fairies, whatever kind he fancies himself to be, don't just give things away for free. Right, you're not supposed to take anything from them. But isn't it not anything? I know about the food thing, you're not supposed to eat something, but clothes? Well, it doesn't hurt to be cautious, well, we'll see. Not that we had much of a choice. When we make it to the palace, for a moment I am struck by its opulence. Intricate canals and waterfalls decorate the grounds, and pink roses cover a significant portion of the land. Thanks for zooming in. What is that? Is it just a banner waving there? Like up here? We're greeted by a grandiose marble staircase and a large pink banner, thank you, bearing the same swan and roses I saw back at Shay's outpost. And that's what it is, right? The swan that both Shay and Keegan have a brooch of. The stone is carved into a mix of antiquity and long, sinuous lines that give the palace a beautifully unique appearance. Moss and roses grow along the ground and walls, and cover the elaborate fountains in green and pink, so that there is a trace of wildness about the place. Yeah, it doesn't look too sterile for the plants. That's nice. Interesting mix of designs. If I wasn't terrified from my life, I'd love it here. It's the most grand building I've ever seen. Keegan seems unconcerned as he casually greets the guards and guides us through the entranceway, then over a bridge.
Watch your step, Mokara.
Okay, thank
It's a long way down.
Right. It looks like it. I was just wondering about the waterfalls, like in the building. Interesting. I raise my eyebrow and glimpse over the side of the bridge. When I do, I have to force myself not to make any sudden movements. I'd expected to see a lake or something down below us, but all those waterfalls are just flowing into some great big pit. I can't even see the bottom of it. Okay, yeah, that's scary. Instinctively, I walk closer to Keegan until we've put some bit of distance between us and the pit. As we enter the palace itself, servants and nobles line the halls we pass through, whispering behind their hands and staring at us. At me. The servants are watching with concern, their eyes flicking between me and my escort Keegan. The nobles, on the other hand. Oh my, I think we're in for a show today. Didn't they run off to join the Unseelie? Vaguely seem like they're anticipating my demise. I squint as I note the word Unseelie. I've heard it before, I think. Shay mentioned something about it, didn't they? Despite the columned walls being open to the air, it feels claustrophobic as I realize I'm the center of attention. This is like some kind of nightmare. At least we're not naked. As we make the long journey down the hall, I can't help but think whatever the Queen has in store can't be worse than this. Quite impolite, aren't they, gawking so openly? You'd think they'd have better things to do. Is he trying to make me feel better? Apparently. Or he just doesn't give a shit about nobles. I give him an anxious smile in return. Keegan blocks me from the crowd as he leans over to hold the door to the throne room. His expression never changes, but his voice drops so that only I hear him. Are you ready to go in? Yes, not yet. Ready as I'll ever be. I mean, what else is I supposed to do? What am I going to do? Yeah, let's just go for it. Rip the bandage off. No use in putting it off anymore. Unless maybe I should have washed before or something, but too late now. Keegan nods and we enter the throne room. To my surprise, the Queen is nowhere to be seen. Instead, there are 3 very important-looking men talking amongst themselves. All 3 of them turn to look at us as we walk in. Sitha. Kitha, Titha. Why, of course, I should have known you would be here awaiting Her Majesty. 3 sour-faced Seelie nobles. Brothers, by the looks of it. Okay. Setha, Ketha, Tetha? Okay. The men share a cautious look before approaching us.
Well, Keegan, I wondered where our Maithe had slithered off to.
The man chuckles to himself at some joke only he understood. The other two men are appraising me, both looking at me as though I was something foul. Wonderful. I get all gussied up and the fobs still turn their noses up at me. Isn't Daoine supposed to be one of them? Or do all wealthy folk just have a second sense for spotting the poor? Here's hoping they aren't too close to the Queen.
I see you're returning the fledgling druid. Her Majesty will be most grateful, I'm sure. Oh yes, she does love her pets, doesn't she?
Kether's eyes remain on Keegan, and I wonder if he was included in that statement.
I only do as she asks of me. I'm sure Her Majesty will feel the same about you.
And what are you implying by that, Master of Secrets?
Only that Her Majesty must be reliant on us all to watch out for her best interests. After all, rulers these days are dropping like flies, no?
The courtiers share a fearful glance, but Keegan gives no indication if he saw it. Kether's face rushes through several expressions before settling on indignation. However, we don't get a chance to hear his response. Oh, okay, that was the chapter. Yeah, let's do one more. Next one, please. The Rose Queen. Before the sneering courtier can fumble in a final retort, a chorus of trumpets erupts through the throne room, seizing all the chatter around us entirely. I spin around, following the collective gaze of the court until it settles on the back door, where an ostentatiously clad footman stands at attention.
Presenting Her Illustrious Royal Majesty. As regal as the swan, a flower among women, beautiful and benevolent, a paragon of grace and
Before the ever-done dims, if you will.
Eva Alaban, High Queen of the Dweltha de Danann and Sovereign of the Seelie Court.
Wait, I wanted to click on that. Is there a back roll? Yes. Thank you. It is Eva, right? Okay, Eva Alaban. The given name means radiant. The surname means white swan. The radiant white swan. Pretty name. Okay then. The door practically bursts open from behind the footman, who scurries off to the side before he can be trampled by the ensuing procession. The scene is a spectacle to behold. Hordes of finely dressed folk all flutter around a lace-shrouded litter, and everyone else in its immediate path is either forced to disperse or join in the revelry. Some of the entourage play music, sing, or toss dried flowers out in front of it like rice at a wedding. Most, though, are crowding in and around the litter itself, all speaking up to the woman inside, their voices converging in an incomprehensible cacophony. I unthinkingly make a step toward the scene, feeling almost compelled to get a better look. But no matter how I strain my neck, I can barely see past all the other people in the litter's wake. Suddenly, I feel a hand on my shoulder.
I wouldn't do that if I were you. The Queen's entrances stop for none. She does have a knack for it though, doesn't she?
Right. Yes. Keegan smiles at me and leads me out of the way of the litter. but I keep my eye firmly affixed to it even as it passes me by. I can't help myself. I've heard stories about the Queen of the Fairies ever since I was a wee thing. Even if she isn't quite a fairy in the strictest sense, she must be beautiful to have this kind of escort following her every step. Sadly though, all I can make out is her faint silhouette. Oh, did you see Her Majesty's gown? What a splendid design. I simply must... What? Watch where you're going, you little oaf. I turn my head around, following the ruckus that just broke out a ways back down the room. Squinting some, I watch as a variety of courtiers are seemingly pushed and shoved aside, all echoing a similar aghast sentiment. I can't see who's doing the pushing though. They'd have to be awfully short to... Well, I think you can all guess who it is? Stand aside, I have urgent news for the Queen. Right, that explains it.
I see our little friend is back. This should be amusing.
You know, kinda agree. Intervene, stand and watch. Stand and watch? Yeah. Why should I intervene? I chuckle a bit dryly at that, resigning myself to stand and watch the scene unfold. Like, what else? Should I go stop Shay? Or they make a fool of themselves or something? I don't know, not my responsibility. I feel a tad guilty for the trouble Shay might get into, but I can't afford to stick my neck out in a place like this. Yeah, I'm in enough trouble as it is. I'm not about to throw myself between some stranger and the Queen of the not-quite fairies. Shay marches through the crowd, dead set on carving a direct path through the court to the Queen. The nobles and courtiers look irate. There's noticeable shouting now, though I can't make out any of the specifics.
Oh dear, not one for decorum, are they?
Eventually, Shay manages to strong-arm their way to the litter, but they're stopped from reaching the Queen by one of her personal guardsmen, if his get-up is anything to go by. But Shay doesn't seem like they care about that. They get up in his face, yelling and wagging their finger. I can't help but wince a little.
And I see they've gotten themselves into a shouting match. Funny. Foolish, but funny.
Oh, they're brave or they're reckless? Well, that's hard to say. I would need to really know the Queen or like how things work around here to know which one it's leaning towards. I'd agree it's a bit foolish the way she's going about things, but I don't know. Let's go with that brave. Sure, why not? I chew the inside of my cheek. I don't know. I think it's a bit brave. Doing what you feel is right and not much caring about what any of the slot thinks. That's true, I can agree with that.
In my experience, Mokara, the two are one and the same.
They can be.
Perhaps you would think differently if their actions today came at a cost.
I turn and look up at Keegan, a bit startled. Will it?
Depends.
On what?
If the Queen is pleased to see you.
Well, thank you, so it's hinging on me. Great. With that, Keegan takes a sidelong glance back toward the litter. Apprehensively, I follow his lead and see that Shay is glowering right at us. Feeling a slight chill down my spine, I wave. Shay, seemingly confused for a short moment, waves back. And as we both wave, for our own embarrassing reasons, I suddenly feel the eyes of the court shift from Shay onto me. Before I know it, the procession and all of its pageantry has come to an abrupt halt in the middle of the room. I fold my arms and frantically look between Keegan and Shay, unsure of what to say or do with all of this newfound attention on me. But neither one of them seem like they're going to do much of anything, given Shay is understandably a bit mad at me, and Keegan, well, he just seems like he'd rather watch me squirm. Christ, why did my double have to be the most conspicuous bleeding person in the world, or in the whole of the other world? Hello there, Oh! My gods! I startle as an unseen voice cuts through the whispers of the court, and, like clockwork, all the attention is sprayed off of me and onto
Dana! There you are, you little rascal! Where in Danu's name have you been, darling?
Hello. I really like her design, it's really pretty. Do you have any idea how No. How devastated I was? It's true. Her Majesty very nearly cancelled her plans to visit the Summer Palace. I have no time to react to any of this, at least not appropriately. As she speaks, the Queen unceremoniously bursts from the litter of her own procession and proceeds to stride straight toward me. Every member of the court is forced to make way, and unlike with Shay, they do so with expedience. Likewise, once the Queen reaches me, I am rendered completely helpless as she scoops my face into her hands and squishes my cheeks.
Oh, just look at you! So pale, so thin! Really, darling, what were you eating this whole time? Nuts? Berries off the forest floor?
Say no more. The thought of it is simply too much to bear. The Queen suddenly wrenches me free, and I find myself stumbling backwards, in part due to the surprising amount of force behind the act, but also mostly out of flustered embarrassment. I think my whole face must be as rosy as her hair. Maybe Keegan wasn't lying before about the Queen being distressed. Keegan, I ought to kiss you, or at the very least reward you for what you've done here today. Now I suppose I should hardly be surprised that our Master of Secrets would be the one to bring our dear sweet darling Diana home. Part and parcel to the territory, no? As the Queen says this, I notice Shay running up behind her, their mouth agape. Though, strangely, despite how urgently they try to alert the Queen of my presence, they do not interject against the Queen's assertion. Say nothing correct her. Sure. I mean, I don't know if in reality I would keep my mouth shut, but Choo-choo, though. Oh, maybe he would have corrected it himself. Sorry about that then. Actually, it was Shay who found me. We ran into Keegan along the way. Yeah, I mean, it really... Again, I didn't choose to run away from Shay, so that's a bit of an apology there, okay? Oh, is that so?
Yes, I thought they were in quite the state when I crossed their paths. I thought it best not to parade the court druid through the throne room in rags.
Quite. Well, you have my gratitude for your services, Sweet Pea. I shall inform your superior to ensure that you are appropriately rewarded. You may return to your post. Oh, thank you, Your Majesty. But, was there something else? Yes, ma'am. Permission to escort the court druid back to their premises. And, if I may be so bold...
May, not so first.
I think under present circumstances, someone ought to stand guard. At least, for now, while it's still unsafe. I feel a chill run down my spine. Stand guard? How will I hope to get home then? After all, the Unseelie... No. No, that will not be necessary. Return to your post. Shay, for a brief moment, stares at the Queen with an irritated bewilderment best reserved for, well, anyone else. But ultimately, Shay just nods stiffly to Keegan and the Queen and begins to walk away. Yeah, what are you going to do? Defy the Queen? Thanks. See you around.
Well, how very exciting. Now, Your Majesty, if you wouldn't mind, I have some important matters to bring to your attention. Developments in your absence, shall we say?
Yes, of course, but later. Poor Daoine looks exhausted. I simply must see them to their cottage first.
Naturally. By all means, then, shall we be off?
We? Oh, really now, Keegan? I can't say I'm surprised you'd set your sights on this one, but I am not entitled to a am I not entitled to a little time alone with them too? For a brief moment, Keegan appears visibly surprised, but the expression's gone as quickly as it came.
I can't say I quite catch your meaning. I am but your humble servant, Aoife. Perhaps I merely wish to bask in your presence, engage in an intelligent conversation.
Sorry, I had to wait a moment because sirens are going off here. Great living in the city. No doubt, but there's no need to flatter me, Keeks. It is perfectly natural in my eye for you to be intrigued by our Daoine here. I imagine their disappearance was more than a little vexing to the Master of Secrets.
If you insist.
Keegan's eyes linger on me for a moment before he turns back to the Queen and smiles. Well then, you know where to find me, so I shall take my leave. Keegan bows politely to us both, but before he goes, he catches my hand and places a kiss on my fingers. Okay. Slán go foil until we meet again. Daoine. Incorrigible, that one. With that, the Queen spins around and clasps her hands together. Sorry, Freudian slip there. Not our hands, her hands. The court will adjourn for today in light of newfound developments. As you were, gentlemen. There are a few grumblings from within the crowd, but with the Queen's dismissal, most begin to filter out of the throne room, leaving me alone with her. I swallow. Now, shall we be off? The Queen looks at me expectantly. Panic? Ah, no! I couldn't click quick enough, so I did panic, I guess. I stare at the Queen a bit stupidly for a moment, unsure of what I ought to do, or say, or go. I barely even know where I am, and the Queen... Well, frankly, she's been acting like an absolute nutter. One minute she's practically sobbing over me, and then the next... Yes, I panic. I really do. And in panicking, I waltz right up to the Queen and extend my arm out to her like all genteel-like, but worse, with more jittering. Where to, ma'am? Okay. My, aren't we nervous? And bold? How quaint! With that, the Queen gingerly takes hold of my arm and leans over toward me, almost conspiratorially. We are, of course, going to your house, silly goose. Perhaps it's been so long you've forgotten the way? Well, no matter. Now that you've given yourself to me willingly, I shall oblige by showing you the way. Thank you, Your High, Majesty? I screw my eyes shut and grimace. I want to curl into the ball and die. The Queen, on the other hand, only laughs. Goodness, were you always so amusing? Well, I can't have you unable to speak. Perhaps we ought to forgo formalities altogether, Just call me Aoife, darling. Alright, Aoife. Much better. With that, Aoife leads me out of the palace. Into the gardens. Nice. Wow. I can't help but gasp. I've never seen such immaculate gardens. The flowers, the waterfalls, the pond. It's like something out of a picture book. They are pretty, no? I can never quite get used to them myself either. Really? Didn't you grow up here? I bit my tongue. In hindsight, the question was a bit impertinent. Sometimes I forget how new you are. No, I didn't grow up here. I took my first walk through these gardens on the day of my coronation, about 3 days after my arrival. I raised an eyebrow at her, a bit perplexed. I won't claim to be privy to the ways of royalty, let alone fairy royalty, but why wouldn't a princess be raised in the capital? I mean, even in human royalty, that isn't necessarily a thing. Also, she wouldn't have necessarily been a princess before becoming a queen. Well, anyway. Then... It is lovely out though. Can you hear the birds chirping? Say, I understand if you're too tired, but would you care to walk with me a little while longer? There's no need to rush you to your abode. I paused for a moment, thinking it over. On one hand, the Queen may very well just want to take a stroll with me, but on the other, I can't quite get a proper read on her. She may be a bombastic prima donna, but there's something else there, behind that aristocratic smile. Very true, but like, what harm is there? Something unpredictable. Something I can't quite place. I don't know if I can trust it. And while I'm still play-acting this Diana person, it may be best to keep a low profile and avoid being alone with these people as much as possible. But we need more information. And again, who am I to refuse the Queen? She's giving me a choice, but is it one? Really? Yeah, I think it is one. Take a walk or go straight home. We need information. And even if I think we can assume she won't be... I'm looking the word now, but like she won't be angry at us if we refuse. But sure, let's take a walk. I rub my chin for a moment, then sigh. Well, I suppose I wouldn't mind taking the long way around. Wonderful! With a smile, Eva proceeds to pull me down a winding garden path, lined by great big bushes of flowers and wispy willow trees. A gentle wind stirs up all the smells into the air, and as we pass the pond, I feel a cool mist against my skin. I feel remiss only calling it beautiful, but I'm no poet. Beautiful will have to suffice. Though, if I'm honest, I can't help but feel like there's something unnatural about it too. All the flowers seem so fresh, as though they all just bloomed today and would stay that way forever. It's nothing like the flowers in Ireland. Such fragile, imperfect things, and so quickly gone. What are you thinking? I jump a little, jostled out of my thoughts by Eva's question. As I go to meet her eye, I'm surprised by the way she's looking at me. It's almost sad? Pitying, maybe. Thinking? Your expression seems very solemn. Feeling homesick? I swallow, feeling a little color leave my cheeks. Diana. The Druids are not the only ones familiar with Druidism or magic. The Druids are not the only ones familiar with Triot, you know. I squint, a little confused. Same. I'm not sure I understand. It was not a particularly well-kept secret that you wished to leave us, Daoine. And by your appearance, the change in your aura... You succeeded. You returned to Innisfell. I take it was not quite what you were expecting, was it? In truth, I sympathize. You are not Tuathade. This was not supposed to be your home, and sometimes longing for that which never was can be just as painful as longing for something lost. Anyway, I trust now that you've undergone this pilgrimage, you are here to stay, yes? Lie or stay silent. Yeah, no, I don't want to lie. That will only get us in trouble, and we cannot make promises that we can't keep. So I'm going to say that. I know I can't tell her the truth. Not now. Not this deep into my accidental deception. It would be too dangerous. The fair folk are an unpredictable sort after all. But I can't bring myself to lie either, and find myself avoiding her eye. Well, even so, I must admit there is something on my mind, something that I wanted to talk to you about, specifically.
There is trouble in the air, Dana. More trouble than I'd care to entertain.
Right. I raise an eyebrow. How do you mean? This was before my time, but I imagine the Druids familiarized you with the War of the Chords well enough. It ended only 50 years ago. Half a lifetime to a human, I suppose, but not to us. Frankly, by the way some talk of it, the war never really ended. It only paused. In any case, I don't expect you've yet heard the news, have you? I find myself fidgeting anxiously, even though I have no possible idea what she's on about. I suppose not. Just as well. Aoife pauses for a long moment. Her gaze drifts out over the pond, pensively watching as a bevy of swans bathe themselves underneath the waterfall. Lugate, the traitor, is dead. Lugate, the first king of the Unseelie, is called the Traitor King by the Seelie Court. Ordinarily, this would be cause for celebration. He was a miserable tyrant well past his due. If the gods had any sense in them, his soul would be left to wither and rot. But after the war ended, Lugate was left impotent and uninterested in furthering his ambitions. His son, however, is young and full of vigor. I see. So, what does that mean? It is too soon to be certain. But it is widely believed that the man is as much of a hot-headed fanatic as his father was. My court already whispers of war. This land has already seen far too much violence. Aoife grows quiet again, then looks at me expectantly. My throat dries as I rack my brain for anything useful or even comforting to say to her. Are you sure about Lugate's son? What do the Unseelie want?
Oh, what do they want?
Well, what do the Unseelie want? Maybe there could be a, peaceful solution? Oh, saying that out loud. I'm never going into politics.
What do the Unseelie want? Darling, they want what everyone else in this wretched world wants. Power.
Right. And power is not often peacefully begotten. Including yours? I bite my tongue as soon as the retort slips out, but Aoife only stares at me. A shiver rolls down my spine as her eyes seem to watch my face closely. I try not to sweat too hard. Well, I suppose it's all a matter of perspective, isn't it? But if you're asking, and pertinently so, about the relative state of my hands, you'll find them far cleaner than most. Never forget that the Unseelie crown, such as it is, was won at the cost of blood-leaden streets in every city, town and village across Murias and Gorias. Any who dared to defy Lugate's brutish warlording was put to the sword. I'm sorry, Your Majesty, I didn't mean no disrespect. Aoife holds up her hand, silencing me. No, you're fine. I am no lover of sycophancy, and do not wish to curtail your tongue. In fact...
In the coming days, I may need your assistance. For the sake of the realm.
Great. What? You sound so surprised. The Druids have always been invaluable consultants to the kings and queens of the Tuatha De Danann, you know, even in matters of war. But I'm just... a human? Yes, well, I believe that's a good thing in this case. You have no stake in this fight, your eyes on you, your perspective clear. I need someone around me who isn't impeded by ulterior motives. I feel my heart thudding in my ears. I am not sure what to say. Well, honesty is a becoming trait, and not one often shared among my court.
Told you.
If you can promise me your honest thoughts, I will expect no more of you. A twinge of guilt turns the inside of my stomach as I look over at the Queen, who seems a good deal more honest herself than she had been before in the palace. It almost makes me wish I could stay and help, but... I'm not Daoine. I have no business being here and my own duties to care for. Still, I can't quite bring myself to disappoint her. I'll do my best, Miss Aoife. Really, you are too cute. Just Aoife, darling. All these misses and ma'ams make me feel old.
I mean, you're probably much older than me.
I'm only 299, you know. It takes a considerable amount of effort not to let my mouth fall open. Well, I think I've held your ear long enough for now. Though I dare say this was rather enjoyable. We ought to do it again, no? That would be nice, ma'am. Oh, is that cheek I hear? I'll be sure to remember that, and I'll have you know I can be quite mean when I want to be.
Mean?
Quite. I'm not certain what she means by that, but I have a feeling that pressing the point would put me in a precarious spot, so I don't. Well, another time. For now, let's get you home.
Oh boy. Okay, I think that's gonna be enough for today.
Interesting. So 2 new characters, both very intriguing and very pretty. Yeah. I mean, it is a tricky situation. And I thought with the way it went with Shay, where we were quite open with not being who everyone thinks we are, we could choose this with the others as well. But of course, especially with someone like the Queen, it feels like that's not a good path. I don't know. I'm wondering if later on we will have the chance to choose whether to reveal it before it's revealed automatically in some other way. Yeah. Well, that was interesting. We're slowly learning more about this world and the role that we are supposed to play in it as a druid. It really can't be long until someone wants us to do some like magic or something, and yeah, I think that's the point where it can then easily fall apart. But oh well, that's it for today. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. As always, let me know down in the comments what you think, and until next time, bye bye.